SportsBit is powered by BetOnline, driving the opening odds market since 2001. Visit sportsbookreview.com to learn more about BetOnline and its A+ rated platform in the link below.
Yes, welcome into SportsBit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy, weekend preview edition. Friday means the marquee games in the NFL. Atlanta, Carolina. We'll get to the Sunday night game with the Raiders and the Dolphins. Big news on the Cowboys. They're at home against the Chiefs. And Jacksonville trying to make the playoffs and make it 5-3. They're at home to the Bengals. Get to all that coming up in the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Bills laying 3.5. Routed against the Jets. Couple late garbage touchdowns. Jets win outright. Game goes over. And this was I thought one of the best bets ever. That it opened 5.5. You could have the Jets win total under 5.5. Closed 3.5 in most spots, as low as 3 at the South Point here in Vegas. The Jets somehow are now 4-5 on the season.
And the Jets become the first team in the NFL in the first week of November to cash their season wins over the total. So let's call it what it is. You're betting the Jets under 3.5. That was a bad bet. And of course, well, you're betting anybody under 3.5. And you're betting anybody after a 2-game move down in a season win total. That never happens, Paul. You might see a season win total, a big move,
right?
A half a game. You know, maybe like once every 5 years, see a team move a game. This was nothing but Jets money. Wise guys pounded the under. Wise guys paying the price. Jets 194-63 rushing advantage last night. They were able to dominate the Bills on the ground. And once again, the Thursday night NFL product, let's be honest, Pauly, wasn't that good.
No. And that was a bad job by the Bills as they were blown out. Historic when you're talking about a win total 3, but doesn't involve an expansion team. Bad bet, Northern Illinois. This is a big game in the MAC. Toledo looks like they're going to make the MAC title game. Or Northern Illinois plus 9.5 down to 7.5. Wasn't horrible. Woodside did fumble at the 1-yard line. He was a terrific quarterback. But Toledo wins by 10. They're 8-1. They only lost at Miami.
Yeah, I mean, the Huskies hung around, but the bettors didn't get it right. Playing Northern Illinois down from 9.5 to 7.5. The Rockets get the money, and that was bad for bettors who bet the other side.
Bad for the books. How about this? I put it on the first quarter. The Warriors were down 17. They won by 20. Yep. Took money from 6.5 to 8.5. Easy win in that one. Popovich tossed. And then you had our winner, play of the day, Temple, with the new quarterback getting in there. Frankie had 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards. Temple from 8-point dogs down to 6.5. Won outright against Navy, but under from 55 down to 51.5 did not work. 2 late garbage touchdowns for Navy through the air.
Yeah, I mean, with Golden State, and that was impressive. When you're down, they were down as much as 19. It was 31-12 in the first quarter of that game. And to come back and have it be blowout city by the fourth quarter of that contest, that's Golden State. You know, the Warriors brought their A game against the Clippers. They brought their A game against the Spurs this week. The early struggles for Golden State appear to be in the rearview mirror now. I wonder if Pops got tossed intentionally in that ballgame, trying to set the stage for something down the line. San Antonio, I'm not convinced their problems are going to get solved anytime soon, like the Cleveland Cavs, a formerly proud franchise that has gotten off some really ugly early season struggles. As for Temple, yeah, nice when we catch the easy right side winners here on SportsBit. Remember, talked about how Temple had held Army to a season low in rushing yards 2 weeks ago, running an option. Lo and behold, they held Navy to a season low in rushing yards last night. 3 weeks of working on option football in practice is huge for any defense. You see it every year during bowl season.
Bad beat for NFL fans and the product, and Texan fans and the season. Watson done for the year, tearing his ACL. That means it's Tom Savage again. They signed TJ Yates and also brought in Matt McGloin. And, I mean, Savage is terrible. This is what a downgrade this is. You see they're only a 7-point favorite now at home to the Colts. Forget Rookie of the Year. If they continue to win games because the defense was so bad, I think Watson would have got MVP votes.
I'm sure he would have. I mean, the way he was playing. Look, let's call this what it is. This is a bad beat for the Texans season. I mean, this is a squad. They've overcome a lot And to see Deshaun Watson going down, look at the tweet, on a toss play to a running back in practice, non-contact injury, out for the year. Look at the graphic, the next graphic, the most touchdown pass in a 4-game stretch ever by a rookie, 16 touchdowns over the last 4 games. But when you talk about the market adjustment, markets moved from 13, Houston 13, down to 6.5, and then got bet back up to 7. I don't think that's enough.
Nope.
When you talk about what this team has gone through, okay, Tom Savage sucks. Let's start with that. We know Tom Savage sucks. They know Tom Savage sucks. They watch him in a playoff game suck. They watch him down the stretch. He's not going to carry the team the way Deshaun Watson did. So the QB injury, they're saying it's 7 points. Remember, the injury comes on the heels of those Bob McNair comments that really pissed off the entire locker room. And it came on the heels of Bill O'Brien. Ridiculous coaching decisions costing them games at New England and Seattle. And that's on the heels of losing J.J. Watt for the season and Whitney Merciless for the season and Christian Covington, underrated key injury from their defense for the season. Oh, on the heels of trading Dwayne Brown. Would they have traded Dwayne Brown if they knew that Savage was going to be the QB the rest of the way? On the heels of the Hurricane Harvey stuff in preseason that messed everything up. I mean, this team has been through a lot, Pauly, and the downgrade from Watson to Savage is worth far more than a touchdown, in my opinion. This is one situation where the markets are kind of constrained by how much they can adjust. Houston's season is over, flat out. I don't know how many games they're going to win the rest of the way. It won't be many.
Everyone knew Watson was better than Savage, except Bill O'Brien, who started Savage in the first game. Amazing. Pros versus Joes. Pros 21-13 year to date. They're on the Bucks. Winston practiced for the first time in 3 weeks. They're catching 7 against the Saints. Horrible season so far. They're 2-5. Jags taking money off the bye. More on that coming up. Falcons taking money. We'll get to that game in a second. Cowboys taking money.
Yeah, and no surprise really with any of those. The fact that Winston is practicing has made a big impact in the markets this week. And, of course, the fact that the Saints, despite their 5-game winning streak, have not looked dominant at any point during that stretch. Jags coming out of the bye. Panthers with the Kelvin Benjamin trade. The markets did not like that particular move. And Dallas, we'll talk about the Zeke Elliott suspension/not suspension. We get to the big game breakdown coming up in just a few moments.
All right, the Joes, 12-21-1 to date, 2-0-1 last week. They're on the Rams, and you saw the injury report that just came out. Ton of injuries for the Giants. They like the Saints at home, trying for a 6-game winning streak. They're betting the usual suspects. The Eagles laying a big number at home against Denver. They're taking the Raiders on the road against Miami. And I actually agree with this pick. I like the Lions Monday night as well. It's a bad team, so Stafford will probably play well. And I don't want any part of Hundley, even though they're off the bye at 87 yards passing against the Saints.
Of course, we're talking pros versus Joes. There's a clear sharp square divide game this week. That game being Bucks and the Saints. Wise guys all over Tampa Bay. Recreational players all over New Orleans. So far this season, the rare games where the pros are on one side and the Joes are on the other hasn't done well for the Joes. Although the Joes are coming off their best week of the season, undefeated, 2 wins and a push last Sunday/Monday.
Up next, big game breakdown. A big move in the Atlanta-Carolina game, and we'll get to Cincinnati and Jacksonville. Jags can make the playoffs. They're off the bye. They're at home against the Bengals. We'll get to that next on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Sportsbook Review, YouTube's largest sports betting channel. Every day we're here giving you the most up-to-date news and info, all to help you make the best bet. On top of that, guys, it's free. So look, do us a favor, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment or a question. Our goal here is to make sure that everyone becomes a smarter, better. So join the SPR Army today and start winning with Sportsbook Review.
Back on SportsBet, Betting Insight today. Big game breakdown, always sponsored and powered by Bet Online. Exceptional customer service, strong promotions, every type of wager you're looking for. Dave Mason on every Tuesday on the Deep Dive here on SportsBet. Falcons at Carolina take on the Panthers. Atlanta now favored. 1.5, 42.5 the total. The decline on offense from Shanahan to Sark is real, and it continues. Football Outsiders #1 last year on offense, down to 7 overall, and the passing falls from #1 to #15. They can't get Julio Jones involved like last year. Yards per game and per reception. You look at this graphic, per game. Yards per game, 100.6. This year, 77. Yards per catch, 17. This year, it's 14.6. They're basically the only team who struggled to move the ball against New England's defense, which will tell you something, as they avoided the shutout late in that Sunday night game. Not a lot to like with Atlanta, even though they're coming off a road win. Very important, though, Teddy. All these numbers, and if you're a trends guy, against Atlanta, this is the third straight road game for the Falcons.
Sure. And Atlanta, we talked about the offensive decline, and certainly the quote from Julio Jones doesn't sound too concerned, but at the same time doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. Quote, for me, it's not about targets for me. It's 2017, and we're just trying to make this team the best that we can make it. We're definitely trying, note this, to get back on track. Just fix things. We are not quite there yet. And you wonder, instead of getting back on track, maybe this is just who Atlanta is. Maybe 2016 was the one-off, the outlier season that we have to say, all right, Matt Ryan, the graphic from Matt Ryan is going to show it real clear. Take a look at this. Career yards per pass and career passer rating. And the numbers are real consistent from 2008 to through 2015. Year in, year out. Matt Ryan, the same guy. Last year, great offense. Everything clicked all year. Boom. Outlier numbers. This year, back to the normal career numbers for Matt Ryan. Maybe this is who he is, and maybe this is what we can expect from the Falcons moving forward. Not a team that I'm real excited about laying points with on the highway.
Now you have the Panthers, who are coming off a 17-3 win against Tampa Bay. They trade Benjamin, which I guess they were saying Funchess and Benjamin, the same type of player. 2 years ago, when Benjamin got hurt in camp, they went 15-1, went to the Super Bowl, and Cam was MVP. But got Kuechly back. They played well on defense against Tampa Bay. Where are you at with the Panthers?
Well, look, in my mind, the key to Carolina so far this season has been the play of their young guys in the secondary. Darryl Worley, James Bradbury. Remember, they let Josh Norman go last year, gambled those guys were ready, and they weren't. Well, this year, they've been dynamite as a duo. And the Panthers, as you mentioned, they've held 4 of their 8 opponents without an offensive touchdown. Bradbury, number 1 of all defensive players, 465 snaps. Worley's number 7 at 324. These guys are on the field all the time. And you look at the graphic, total defense and pass defense, Carolina Panthers in the top quartile of the NFL. But, clearly the offense has been a problem. And I honestly don't know what to do with the Kelvin Benjamin situation. The brain trust in Carolina saying, hey, we got to get Curtis Samuel on the field. He's got the speed to stretch the defenses the way they did with Ted Ginn. He's only got 7 catches all season. This is the chance. But, Cam Newton's a guy who, A, had a relationship with Travis Benjamin off the field, and B, is a guy who at times, Kelvin Benjamin, thank you. I kept on thinking of the punt return from Travis last week. But Newton is a guy who has a history of pouting in these spots. Quote, it's hard when you have emotional attachments. And that happened with Benji. That happened with Joe Webb. That happened with a couple of guys. I took it hard, but at the end of the day, life goes on. At the end of the day, it's a business. You think Atlanta cares about that? My feelings are irrelevant.
For what it's worth, we're not splitting the atom here, but we're giving you great information. Obviously, Carolina can't run the ball. And Newton led them last week with 44 yards rushing. The third game in a row, Cam Newton has led them in rushing. And it's not like he's taken off and looking to run either. Just no running game to speak of there. Game number 2, Bet Online. Always sponsored and powered by Bet Online. Jags off the bye at home against Cincy. They're laying 5.5 and 39 the total. Here we go. Can the pros finally cash an over ticket on the Jags? It was 6.5 in most spots. They're 4-3, and they're going to be favored in a lot of games coming up. They benefit from this Watson news. So it's Cincy and the Chargers at home. They play Cleveland, Arizona, the Colts, Houston are going against Savage in the 49ers. Come on. It's right there for you, Jacksonville. And the defense is nasty. And you got a Cincinnati team that can't run the ball and couldn't protect Dalton last week against the Colts. Saxonville will be ready, Teddy. And also, if you're anti-Cincy or you like Jacksonville in this spot, all 4 Jacksonville wins by 21 points or more.
Yeah, I mean, the games that they've beaten teams, they've crushed them 130-23 combined margin of victory in those 4 victories for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is such a unique role for the Jags. I mean, are they mentally prepared to be the favorites in the division? That's what they have to be right now. They're 4-3. They're going to be chalk each of the next 5 games. Jacksonville, they're never chalk. Now they're chalk every week. Of course, the issues have not gone away for Blake Bortles. This is still a very spotty passing game, and that's why in their losses, we've seen all the mistakes from the Jags. But there's no question, Pauly, this is a legitimately elite defense this season. As you call them, Saxonville. That's what they're calling themselves. And when you look at this graphic, you're going to see why. Look, the number 1 in the NFL in sack percentage at 12.3% of opposing dropbacks. And look at that in comparison to recent seasons. No one's been above 10 in the last 5 years. Only one team's been above 9. So this is a historic type of pass rush. Calais Campbell. You know, Arizona let him go. I bet they wish they could have him back right now. Jack signed him as a free agent. In his 10th season, he's got 10 sacks already, the best season of his career, and he's a major force in the locker room, a really respected veteran leader. And, of course, even with Bortles, still have Leonard Fournette. You know, he's going to get back in the lineup after missing a game and getting a bye week. So they'll have Fournette, but it's not a situation where Fournette's their only option at running back. At least he's not getting worn down. They're deep at the RB position with Chris Ivory, TJ Yeldon, and Corey Grant.
All right, back to the Bengals now. And the offensive line issues continue. They haven't gone away, even though Laser became the new OC when they got rid of Zampese. Andy Dalton, sack percentage in his career, 5.8. Last year, 6.8. This year, 9.2, which is 30th in the NFL. I'll repeat this, cause for concern. They 2.8 yards per carry against god-awful Indy. And Dalton got sacked 3 times. A.J. Green, quote, "We can't have Andy hit like that." That's tough because you're not going to win without that guy. We have to take some more pride in not letting everyone get some shots on him like that because he took big shots today. And Dalton has to be more politically correct about the guys blocking for him. Quote, "I think everyone understands we expect more of what we've done, especially on the offense. I don't think anybody here is taking it as getting called out, but that everyone just needs to play better." That's what it comes down to when you got a guy like AJ who's done so much for the team and been a part of so many great things. It's good to hear him say things like that. And, definitely a disconnect between management, ownership, and the coaches. As Lewis, they're saying they didn't want any part of that McCarron trade. And if the Browns would have turned in the paperwork and done everything right, McCarron would have gone to Cleveland for a 2nd and a 3rd. But that fell apart. So that's something to watch for maybe, too, down the road. That was a weird story, Teddy, when that trade was done, but the Browns botched that.
I don't know that either team wanted to make the trade. It was a bizarre story, although if I'm Cincy, I can get a 2nd and 3rd rounder for McCarron. I'll flip it in an instant. But the bottom line for this Bengals team is Marvin Lewis. He's feeling like lame duck head coach right now, isn't he, Pauly, a little bit? And I know this. I don't want to bet money on losing teams with lame duck head coaches on the highway going against elite defenses. Not in November, not in December. My opinion is Jags or nothing for me in this one, even though Jacksonville, you've been laying points with Blake Bortles in his career. Your bankroll likely to be limited given the struggles that Bortles and the Jaguars have had in this particular role.
All right, we continue with good game now and an update on Ezekiel Elliott. Dallas at home against Kansas City and the Raiders in Miami for Sunday Night Football. Straight ahead on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, wrapping it up. Big game breakdown. Pauly and Teddy. Good late game. Chiefs on the road to take on the Cowboys. Bet online number now, Dallas 2, 52.5 the total. Elliott got cleared again this morning. He gets the stay. So at least for one more week, he'll play. And he didn't have to practice all week, so he'll be fresh. He's been terrific the last couple of weeks. Cause for concern here, definitely no home field advantage. Garrett, 18 and 32 ATS at home. So here we go, Teddy, with this where you think it's going to be Morris. But now, with the late news, Elliott will play one more time.
Yeah, I mean, distraction city for Dallas this week, no question about it. And you talked about Garrett's struggles at home. We're talking about a long-term 36% ATS mark for Jason Garrett in this building. And, of course, let's not forget the Cowboys' last 2 home games. They scored 30 points both times. They failed to win or cover either of those contests. Of course, we're talking about a Cowboys offense that now scored 28-plus in each of the last 5 weeks. Dak Prescott talking about what he expects out of the offense, whether Elliott played, which he's going to, or not. Quote, "My expectations for this team are high, regardless of who was at running back, who was at receiver, who was at offensive line. My expectation is that I know these guys in the locker room, the guys I go to work with each and every day. I know their potential. I know what they and we can do together." And obviously, they've been doing it pretty consistently with 28-plus each of the last 5 weeks. The markets, with the Elliott news, we saw a modest bump, but really it was kind of a yawn, Pauly. Zeke Elliott in the marketplace between suspended and in, worth a half point to a point. You know, some of the books moved a point and a half on it, but not in the broader market worth more than 1.5 points at the most. Zeke Elliott's not a 3 or 5 or 7 point type line move like we see at the quarterback position.
Silver lining for the Cowboys this week, they go against the Kansas City rush defense. Kansas City defense, period, has struggled. The rush defense this year, Football Outsider has them 31st. Yards per rush, 29th. Yards per game, 28th. Alex Smith having a good year. They made up for it through the air. And it's strange here, Teddy. You can talk about Alex Smith in a second. Andy Reid with the special teams again. Football Outsiders ratings with Andy Reid in the Andy Reid era. 2013, first, then third, 9th, first last year, and third again. Great numbers on Andy Reid and the special teams.
Absolutely. And again, when you talk about the hidden factors, stuff that is not showing up in the point spread week in, week out, special teams at or near the top of the list. You're going to see turnovers factored in. You're going to see injuries factored in. You're going to see all the stats for offensive defense factored in. Elite special teams can be a pretty big edge. The Chiefs have had that basically every year under Andy Reid. And oh, by the way, look at their point spread numbers in the regular season. They've been consistent monsters, ATS, in the Reid era. And, of course, you have the defensive issue. You know, you talk about the struggles against the run. The pass defense has been dynamite. And the gap. Flash that graphic one more time real quick. Alex Smith with a QB rating of 115.4. The Chiefs' pass defense has held opponents to 82.9 QB rating. That is the single biggest gap between what any team gets and what they allow in QB rating in the NFL. And that's basically why the Chiefs have been as good as they are so far this season.
Last up, Sunday Night Football, NBC, bet online number. Raiders are 3 on the road, 44 in Miami. And the Raiders spent the week in Florida instead of flying home. Strange season for the Raiders. I know the professionals pounded their win total under. But you look, last year, opponents outgained them 6.1 yards per play to 5.7. This year, they've cut it in half, 5.7 to 5.5. Last year, everything went right. They were plus 16 in the turnover battle, number 1 tied with Kansas City, and they won every close game. Every close game went their way. They've already lost more games in half a season than they did in the full season last year. But the thing that from last year and this year they have in common, same problem, the defense stinks. Look at this graphic. Yeah. Football Outsiders. They were 25th. This year they're 32nd. Yards per pass, 31st. Excuse me, yards per pass, 31st. This year, 30th. Passer rating. Last year, 19th. This year, 32nd. And you see the sack rate as well. Put up or shut up time for the Raiders. Just ready. You think you're ready to buy in because they had the big Thursday night win against Kansas City. They go to Buffalo and get dominated, sloppy with the ball, and they were run out in that one.
I mean, there was nothing to like about the Raiders in that game. They were not the better team on the field on either side of the football. And when you talk about those defensive numbers, this is a team that has Khalil Mack, okay? How do you have Khalil Mack and not have a pass rush unless your coverage schemes are awful and there's no time to get to the quarterback? That's been the case for the Oakland Raiders so far this season. That secondary, they invested a lot of high draft choices in the secondary, and let's be honest, they're not panning out so far. This team got away with the bad pass defense last year. They're not getting away with the pass defense this year. And again, we're talking about a team that despite their stellar season in 2016 was outgained by 0.4 yards per play. This year, it's only 0.2 yards per play they're getting outgained by, Pauly. It's still the stat of a sub-500 ball club.
All right. Somehow, Miami's 4-3. And why would a 4-3 team trade away their best running back? They're 4-3. They've been outscored by 60 points. It's bananas. They're coming off a 40-0 loss against Baltimore. And they have one of the toughest schedules the rest of the way. Total offense, dead last. Points per game, last. Passing yards per game, 30th. Rushing yards per game, 31st. Oh, Gase laid into him after the loss. He said, I'm sick and tired of this, and we have the worst offense in the league. Here's more. This is where we're at. This is where we're going to go. If you're not on board, you're going to get the hell out of here. And they got rid of Ajayi. Now, they still like their running backs that they have with Drake and Williams. They combined for only 57 yards on 22 attempts. More from Gase. Damien has impressed me from the get-go. I was told when I got here that when the lights come on Sunday, he's one of those guys you want with you. He's done nothing but make plays for us. And Kenyon Drake, we feel like if he fits the mold of what we're looking for in the backfield. With those two guys, I like the fact they're able to catch the ball, run good routes, run the ball both inside and outside. They're physical. We like their skill sets. It's a weird situation, Teddy. I mean, I don't know how the hell they're 4-3, and they've been outscored by 60 points, and here they are, they trade Ajayi, and they are dead last or at the bottom in every key stat offensively.
Sure. Okay. And the one key stat that we just talked about with Oakland, they're being outgained by 0.2 yards per play. Miami, dead last in the NFL in yards per play differential. Every snap on offense versus every snap on defense, they've been outgained by like more than a yard and a half. It's really ugly advanced metric stats for the Miami Dolphins, yet they're 4-3. You know, how have they done it? Well, smoke and mirrors, and Gase knew that. But look at what the markets have done here. It's been all Oakland money in this ballgame. The market's doing the same knee-jerk they're doing with Carolina. Oh, they trade Benjamin, money goes the other way. Oh, you're trading Ajayi, money comes the other way. Absolute knee-jerk. And when you read that Mike Pouncey quote, were you saying what Adam Gase said, you know, if you're not on board, you're going to be the hell out of here. I'm pretty sure the Jay Ajayi trade was a message. He was rumored to be a malcontent in the locker room. They just got beat 40-0 at Baltimore, and it's embarrassingly bad national TV loss. Yeah. And Ajayi's numbers way down, 4.8 yards per carry last year to 3.4 this year. If you're not producing and you're bitching in the locker room, get the hell out of Dodge. Adam Gase sent a message to his team with that trade. We'll see if that message resonates on Sunday night.
Pouncey, this is the wake-up call. This is the turning point, huh? Jesus. You got the offensive line coach doing blow, sending it to the Nevada escort, bananas. Last in total offense, points per game, passing yards per game, rushing yards per game. That's the wake-up call? Unbelievable. Money time, play of the day. Back to Kansas City and Dallas. What do you want to do?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be fun. Betting number 469/470. Let's take a look at the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Over the total, 52.5, the current number. Look, Chiefs kicked field goals against Denver. I expect better against the Dallas D. And Cowboys kicked field goals against the Redskins. I'm expecting better against Kansas City's defense. We're talking about two high-scoring offenses, two struggling stop units. Expect points and touchdowns in bunches. Shootout in the late game on Sunday afternoon. Cowboys and Chiefs over 52.5.
All right, very good. Fun show. Enjoy your weekend. Great games, especially in college. We're back Monday to recap everything and preview Monday Night Football on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Have a good weekend. Thanks for watching.